It's hard to be able to say how having a cleft affected me, but in general terms, in a world where appearance is vitally, inordinately important, then anyone with a difference, the danger is that it damages your self-worth, and it can affect feelings about yourself. If you don't have self-worth, how can you have confidence? If you don't have confidence, how can you have ambition for your career, for your education, your career? In that regard, I believe that a cleft that affects your appearance does affect your life.
In the UK, there are over 1 million people who have some form of disfiguring condition, and it was highlighted by a charity organisation called Changing Faces over 10 years ago that there really wasn't an awful lot of service provision to support those people who often have high levels of appearance-related distress. So that's social anxiety around not wanting to go out because of their appearance issues. There is something about disfigurements on the face itself that affect the way that we both process and recognise faces. So there's a particular part of our brain that is specifically designed for recognising whether a face is a face or not a face. And the presence of some form of visible difference on the face can actually interrupt that process and make it difficult for people to say, yes, this is a human face that I'm seeing. The reason that's important is it helps us to understand that, for example, when people stare, that might just be purely a cognitive processing issue, that people are staring to be able to incorporate that new difference in the face into their face template, if you like. The other thing that the study found was that it also affects the way we recognise faces as well. So I had a real interest in how we process those kinds of faces, and naturally as a result of doing that was aware of the kinds of difficulties that people with visible differences had. People quite often feel quite ashamed of their appearance-related distress. They often report feeling that they should be able to cope with it, that it's vanity, that they're concerned about their appearance at all. So therefore they quite often feel reluctant to go to health professionals in the first place, even reporting any kind of appearance-related distress. There are pockets of support throughout the UK, but generally speaking there isn't much in terms of statutory service. So I'm working at the moment on a project called the FaceIT programme, which is an online tool for adults with visible differences. So the idea is by creating something that people can do in their own homes, and more importantly, they can refer themselves to without any kind of GP referral. They can get that access without having to actually talk to any health professional about how they're feeling. So when the project first started, Alistair was involved in one of the very early studies of the FaceIT programme, and he was interviewed by myself as part of that first initial study, looking at the kinds of difficulties he'd experienced as someone who has a cleft lip and palate, and what kinds of support he would have liked had he been able to have it perhaps earlier, and also the kinds of support perhaps he might still need now as an older adult with that kind of difficulty.
Actually using the FaceIT programme was very easy to use at home, to go at my own pace with it. It was so interesting to me. I thought I knew it all, and this programme really surprised me by bringing new insights, and I guess modern insights too, about how we understand more about how our physicality informs our internal life. The FaceIT programme, it gives some very, very good advice to people who feel isolated, who feel stuck in a black hole. And this advice is reassurance. What the outside world sees is far more than your face. And I think that's easy for someone who's knocking 60 to say, oh, appearance doesn't matter. I know that it is very, very important to people who are young, to people who are finding out about the world and finding out about themselves. in a perfect world, society would be reassuring us, we would be reassuring each other all the time that actually we're not bad.
Our appearance is so fundamental to our everyday interactions that there's been plenty of research that's shown that people make snap decisions about us just in the first 10 seconds of having looked at our faces. It amazes me how far we've come with the programme, and knowing that there are people like Alistair who are using it or have used it that have found it so helpful to them, that it's brought them out of themselves, helped them to engage socially, is just such a fantastic thing. And the feedback that we get from participants every time is just fantastic. They always pick up little things that we could change, but overall the feeling is just this sense that we've provided them with an absolute lifeline for being able to move forward socially and psychologically.